to start the recording. Wonderful. Good morning, an official good morning, and welcome everyone to our Fireside Chat, the mentorship effect, how women entrepreneurs build stronger businesses together. So we're jumping right in. I'm excited to welcome you all, but especially to introduce you to our panelists. Before I do that, I'll introduce myself. I'm Dawn McCooey, and I am a facilitator with WeBC. I come to you today from the unceded territories of the Algonquin-speaking peoples, also known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, on whose lands I live and work and play. And I know all of you are coming from all over BC and beyond, I think beyond BC today. So welcome. And if you would like to also put in chat where you're coming from, if you'd like to recognize the traditional territories that you're coming from, Jen's put something in chat where you can look that up. Yeah, it's just a great way for us to start. Welcome and thank you. And Kaitlyn is here today with us as well. She's the, I'm going to introduce everyone, but that's me with much nicer hair. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the services that WeBC offers before we jump right into our panel discussion. So WeBC offers business loans to women entrepreneurs up to $150,000 to start a business, buy a business, or grow a business. And the unique thing about that is that we are not what some people refer to as a formula lender. We look at your business viability from a very holistic viewpoint. And that's a good thing because often you will qualify for a business loan with WeBC when you might not qualify with a traditional bank or lender. So something to know about business loans. And we wrap that up with business advice. So if you have a business loan with WeBC, all of this other services are bundled in and they're free of charge. So business advice, skills development workshops, mentoring, which is what we're going to be talking about today. All of the mentoring programs are free of charge. And most importantly, we're all about a supportive community. And coming together in Fireside Chats is one way that we do that. So welcome. And let me especially welcome our panelists. First of all, we have Kaitlyn, who is our skills development and mentoring program manager here at WeBC. Mm-hmm. And we also have Michelle Guillet, who is the founder and CEO of a company called Parasol. Please also meet Salli Carter. She's the CEO of Carter Business Coaching and Consulting. And I'm going to ask all of these ladies, once we roll into our panel, to also give a little introduction each of themselves. So I am going to stop this screen sharing so that we can see everyone. Hang on. Here we go. There they are. And here's all of you. And I want to start off with kind of a funny story. You know, there's dog people and cat people, right? There's dog people and cat people. You are looking at dog people. We, in our preliminary session, planning out today's panel for you, almost everyone here has Chihuahuas. So if you are a Chihuahua fan, you are in the right company. If you're a cat person, you're also welcome. So welcome, Salli, Michelle, and Kaitlyn. We are delighted to just jump right in. We've got some questions. You will have an opportunity to ask questions. At the end, we're going to launch a poll as well, and we want you to let us know, how did it go? We want to know what else you would like WeBC to offer you in Fireside Chats. So let us know. I'm going to jump in with some questions and then asking each panelist to also do a brief bio and tell you a little bit about themselves. So first of all, I have a question, and for all of you, tell us about your experience as a mentee or a mentor, and maybe a story that you'd love to share. So whoever would like to jump in first.
I can kind of jump in, I think.
Thanks,
First of all,
Michelle.
everybody, I'm so grateful to be here and to be a part of this. Mentorship is a huge, huge part of my life and my business. So I'm really grateful to be able to contribute. I've taken part of a few different programs through WeBC. So I've done the WeBC group mentorship. I've also done the WeBC one-to-one mentorship as a mentee, and I've also done mentorship as a mentor outside of WeBC. So I've had kind of a good global view. I've got like amazing benefits from all three different avenues as well, but I would say probably the most unexpected benefit that I had was from the group mentorship. I thought that I wanted to do one-on-one mentorship only. But if you get the opportunity to do the group mentorship, I highly recommend it because it was far more impactful than I'd ever expected.
Wonderful. Michelle, do you want to tell us a little bit about Electric Parasol?
You bet. Thanks, Dawn. Yeah, so my name is Michelle Guillet. I'm with Electric Parasol. I live here in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island, but we work with clients all through Canada and the States. So we help clients feel relaxed, organized, and on top of their game in their business. Lots of times clients will reach out to us and feel completely overwhelmed, not even know where to start, but just know that they need help. And that's exactly what we do, is we kind of get in there, we see what they need help with, and we offer completely customized support for clients. So we don't have packages, we don't have bundles of hours. Everything is uniquely based on their individual needs, their industry, size of their business, and personal desires as well.
Great. Thanks, Michelle. Salli, welcome.
Hey, thank you. I'm really excited to be here, Dawn. Thanks so much for having me. I've been aligned with WeBC for about the past 6 months as a mentor in the one-to-one program, and it has been a really impactful experience, and I'm really excited to talk and delve a little bit more into it with everyone today. So thanks, everyone. And I think one of the biggest things that I've noticed throughout my experience in this type of program is how rewarding it's been for me as a business person. I have a number of small companies, one of which is a business coaching and consulting company. So I already work with women entrepreneurs to help them navigate challenges, support them in the growth of their companies. And then when I'm trying to figure out how I actually found out about y'all. You guys have some good social media presence, and it's awesome. And to be able to align with such an organization in such a powerful role, an impactful role, was really important to me. So I'm excited to share my experience and delve into how it's actually been rewarding and impactful for me and my business and catapulting me to the next level. So thanks for having me.
Wonderful. Thank you. Kaitlyn, what's it like being the manager of a skills development and mentoring program?
Oh, it's fun. Hi, everyone. I'm Kaitlyn. So I work with WeBC, and I have been a part of the organization for 13 years, and I've been involved in the mentoring program since then. So some of the benefits that I get to see from like the back end point of view is, what Michelle and Salli just said, like we get to talk to the entrepreneurs and the mentors, and Brandy's on the call too. So she helps with administering the program now. But getting to talk to the entrepreneurs, talk to the mentors, get to find out sort of what the challenges they're experiencing, and then match them with a mentor who has that as their strengths, and then getting to watch that relationship bloom, and hopefully it's successful and everybody gets something out of it, which is usually the case. And so I'm just really passionate about mentoring and the benefits of mentoring. Regardless of what stage of business you're at, I think mentoring is always valuable. So I'm just super excited to share more about it today.
Thanks, Kaitlyn. And hats off, always behind the scenes, right? We can never forget who's behind the scenes. Jen and Brandy who are making this all happen. So thanks, Jen and Brandy. I'm going to jump into this next question. I'm wondering, Michelle and Salli, specifically, what were you looking to get from the experience? And what impact did mentoring experience have on your business life?
I think for myself, I recently moved to Kamloops from northern BC, and it was an opportunity for me to continue to network with other like-minded business women in BC. And it's been really cool because I'm working currently with someone in southern BC, which I don't know a lot about. But just the opportunity to really share ideas, listen to where other people are at in my own community is of immense value to me.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you. Michelle?
Yeah, I think when I look back, I was looking for some help.
Mm.
I was so overwhelmed, and this was new territory for me, starting my own business. And I joke because starting my own business and being fully self-employed was never anything I wanted to do. I really like consistency. I appreciated having a paycheck every 2 weeks, but life is short, right? And I really wanted to give this a shot, and I had the confidence to do it at the time, but there was so much that was unknown. I mean, from what programs do I use to how do I network to, how do I have a discovery call? How do I build out services? And there was a lot of noise out there. Like in my industry, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of groups, there's a lot of courses to join or people telling you what to do. And I didn't know where to start, what to take and what to leave behind. I just wanted to speak to somebody that didn't have a horse in the game. Like it wasn't a friend of mine. They weren't going to co-sign anything, just somebody who was experienced and could help give me strategic advice. So yeah, I was just looking for like a hand to grab and somebody to help like kind of keep me on track. And I think, what did I actually end up getting? So I was looking for that one-on-one mentorship because again, I was really overwhelmed. And I just needed like one person or so I thought, but I had the opportunity to do the group mentorship program. And I'm so grateful I did because that not only introduced me to, skills and techniques that I needed at the time, right in the beginning, but also like lifelong friends. And those are also people I would consider that are my mentors. They are peers, they are mentors, they are like side by side. They are all in different industries. So I was able to be introduced to new ideas, which was really important for my business because I work with so many different people in different industries. So I got way more than I bargained for just in that program alone. And I was so grateful for it. Yeah, so it was super beneficial. And then with one-on-one mentorship, oh my gosh, yeah, just getting to work with a mentor for probably almost a year by the time that we'll finish up, it has been incredible. Yeah.
Beautiful. Michelle, you're talking about that entrepreneurial journey, right? That overwhelm, and that is that is what mentoring is all about, is having that exposure to women entrepreneurs who've been there, done that, worn out the t-shirt, right? And to have that support when you're not sure, when there is a lot of noise out there and you're not sure where to turn or who to ask. Beautiful.
I think, John, if I can just add to Michelle what you were saying, is you hit the nail on the head. It's like, as entrepreneurs, we're constantly just trying to make it to the next day, make it to the next paycheck, that we don't often have time to work on our business. We're working in it and we're trying to navigate, but there aren't a lot of people to talk to, right? To be able to have that hand to hold and just take what's going on in here and have someone to talk to is of immense value, for sure.
And while you were talking there, Salli, I was even thinking like to help prioritize, right? Because in the beginning, it's like this wall of things you have to do. And I think we can get caught up with maybe, oh, like the aesthetics of a website or what does my social media feed look like? But like, my mentor really helped me like get clients. This is how you get clients, like stay on this strategic path because without that, you don't have any of that other stuff. So I needed to keep hearing messaging on what was important because I had a hard time prioritizing. And again, too, it's like all these other people, they all have different priorities, but what is going to be most impactful for me in my journey? It was incredible.
And even as among women, like even if when we go for coffee, meet up for appetizers or something, it's not like you have that time that's all about to talk about your business. You want to catch up about other things. So just to have that relationship where it's literally you're like, oh, it's this time that's about you. It's this magical time that literally you have the opportunity to share what's in here and collaborate with another person who genuinely supports you. It's a really cool process.
And Salli,
Yeah.
you mentioned in our pre-meeting as well how, it's not your family. A mentor is that special relationship. It's not the person that's sitting across the table from you eating dinner. It's not your best friend that you're not sure, It's someone who's got that experience that you can share that journey.
I think it's also important to consider, like, as a mentor, it's great that you're coming in with this experience and knowledge, and you may think you know what another person needs, another woman entrepreneur needs, but that's not always the case. And I think that in a mentoring relationship, it's about creating this safe space and that rapport for the relationship to kind of flourish and for the mentee to be able to share where their challenges and their successes are. And it's not about forcing my experiences on anyone, but really being there to support the mentee with wherever they're at in their journey. And really respect that for sure.
Okay. Let's look at, I really like how you described that, because it's really that the uniqueness, I think, is what you really touched on, Salli. Yeah.
I think, yeah, and sorry, Dawn.
Go.
Just some people, like I coach for my businesses as well, and some entrepreneurs are like, go, 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 right? And that's awesome. And some people are in very different stages and still trying to figure things out. Like Michelle, to be able to help prioritize certain things was such a gift, right? And for mentors to really meet that mentee where they're at and just create this space for them is really beneficial.
What a perfect segue. You did a perfect segue, because my next question is really about what is the difference. So to all of you, what is the difference between a mentor, an advisor, and a coach? There's a lot of confusion around those three terms. Kaitlyn, do you want to lead off?
Yeah, I can start. I think an advisor is someone who supports you on a very specific issue that you're having. So, and they would give advice. So they would give advice on, you're working on your financials and these are the things you need to look at. These are some formulas. Like really look at it specifically for the challenge that you're having. Whereas I feel like a mentor comes in, with experience and expertise and helps guide and lead. So they're there, like you said, meet you where you're at in your journey and then help kind of guide you along so you can achieve your goals. And by doing that, they, share like, this is what I did, or this is what I experienced when I was in a similar stage of business. So it's more I think it's more organic and holistic, the way that a mentor works versus an advisor being very specific in helping to solve a challenge.
More collaborative, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
So mentoring is not coaching, and it's not business advising. It is that sharing the experience, sharing the expertise, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the opportunities, all of those things.
And like being a sounding board, like I think Michelle said it, like when you join or when you're in your business and you're kind of in tunnel vision, and a lot of the entrepreneurs that come through our program specifically are solopreneurs. So then just having that mentor come in and offer a different perspective, or other entrepreneurs, if you're in a peer group, offering a different perspective just gets you kind of like, oh my God, I didn't even think about that. I've been thinking this way this entire time trying to solve this challenge. And then someone just said one thing and it solved. Like it's that kind of environment, like you said, collaboration, sharing of experiences is definitely, I think, more along what mentoring does versus coaching and advising.
Nice way to just describe the differences. And so, because there is a lot of confusion, and I think for a lot of our audience today, you've clarified sort of what is that, it's not advising, it's not coaching, it's mentoring. Yeah. And when you think about the different opportunities of mentoring, Michelle, you had talked about you really wanted the one-on-one mentoring, ended up in a peer mentoring group. So different types of mentoring, right? Different ways to access all of those benefits, the mentorship effect, right? And that brings me to, what are those opportunities out there? Where do people find? Where do we find these mentoring opportunities? How do we access them?
Well, I think come to WeBC for one, sign up for our e-news. But we definitely offer mentoring programs throughout the year, especially like this is the last year we have funding. So we do have some mentoring programs that are coming up in what is our fourth quarter, so January to March. So we have a Mentoring 2.0, which is for growth entrepreneurs. So if you're probably in business over, probably over 3 years, or you're very clear on what your business is and the challenges you're experiencing, then something like the Mentoring 2.0 would maybe be beneficial for you. And then we have community partner groups that we're doing with community or the Chamber of Commerce's. And so they are going to be specific to specific communities. And so if you're interested in that, the information's on our website, and we can send all that obviously in the follow-up email. But starting with WeBC is good. There's other mentoring programs that are great. I know the Forum has a one-to-one mentoring. They also do national peer mentoring. So we partnered with them to provide our peer mentoring groups outside of BC. So if you're some of the people on the call and you're outside of BC and looking for peer mentoring, the Forum might be a good option for you as well.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend too. Start with WeBC. There's incredible programs here. If you don't know, or if you're confused, reach out, get some more details. Yeah, the Forum, I know some people who've gone through those programs as well. The thing I like about working either with WeBC or the Forum is that you've got this extra layer of support and ushering through it as well. Like, I didn't really know how it worked. I didn't really understand, but I felt really comfortable knowing that there was, like, I want to say like a third party, but it's the party, right? Like Brandy would reach out and say, here's some options. Like, then she would reach out to myself as the mentee and my mentor and say, how did it go? Was it a good fit? If it's not a good fit, I felt like I had support to help walk me through that, because I don't know if I would have had the confidence to be able to say this isn't going to work for me if I was just on my own, like it can be kind of intimidating in that way. So I found a lot of comfort working with WeBC and just knowing that there was more backup support behind the scenes as well. And Brandy checked in as well all through my mentorship, and it was just awesome. I think mentorship can also come though in your group, in your network, in your community. So there's a lot of unofficial mentorship out there as well. Sometimes people don't even know that they're mentors to people, but it's people you kind of reach out to when you need to work through something, or you appreciate their advice, or they've maybe been running a business or was a previous owner of a business that you can reach out to and just kind of bounce ideas off of. And like, it doesn't have to look official. It can be casual as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was going to say, like, don't be afraid to ask, I would say, in terms of mentoring. So if you are looking for like that informal, or there's like a mentoring person in your community, or like a business person in your community who you really look up to, like, most people love helping. And I think if someone came up to me and said, hey, do you mind like giving me a little advice on this? I'd be so flattered. So I feel like most people will say yes. I think it's just a matter of asking. So those informal ones can be a bit scary, but I think they can be really impactful as well. So that's really good advice, Michelle.
Great advice. And Brandy has put a note in chat as well that we can get a direct link to the WeBC mentoring programs. So if you're, winding your way through a website, or getting, as you described earlier, Michelle, sort of like just this sea of information, you can check it out. And as well, Brandy has put in the Forum mentoring programs as well. So there's a really good place to start. And I'm going to add one more too. There's ghost mentoring. So there's, connecting with someone and asking them to be your mentor. But you can ghost mentor people, where you just follow someone that you admire, and they don't know that they're your mentor. Someone in your industry who you want to, that's the guru in your industry. You can follow them. You can be on the same social media channels. You can go to the same events that they go to. Ghost mentoring is an option, and a really kind of a cool way to start and look at who's out there and how can I get this help. Then go to WeBC, then go to check out what else is out there. So some great tips there on, you know, how to get started. But what advice would you give, some best practices, you know, for mentees, for example? Let's start with mentees. What are some best practices? Just a few ideas of, you know, how to be a mentee.
Yeah, I can probably speak to that. The first thing I would say is come prepared. So if someone is dedicating an hour of their busy time with you, show up prepared, come ready either with questions or just some topics that you want to talk about, and use your time wisely because it is so precious. I'd also recommend take notes. There's a lot that goes on in a conversation, a lot of deep conversation and a lot of interesting things, or resources or referrals or names or things to look up afterwards. And I mean, gosh, there's no way I'll remember that at the end of an hour-long conversation. So I take religious notes when I'm meeting with my mentor. I'd also suggest being honest. So you're not going to get in trouble. I hope you won't get in trouble. If you do, you might want to consider that. But yeah, you're not going to get in trouble. And I think the more honest you can be from a place of authenticity, the better result you're going to get out of your relationship. If you're giving lip service and if you're just agreeing to everything and then you get off the call and you're like, it's not going to go anywhere and it's a waste of your time. So be honest and be respectful. The last thing I would say too is schedule time for yourself after the call. So if you meet with somebody for an hour and you have great conversation, you're taking your notes, schedule half an hour for yourself after that. So you don't have to jump right into another meeting. You don't have to get up and do anything right away. So you can actually kind of process what you've spoken about, finish taking any notes if you were taking some notes. And if there's any kind of like action items that pop out of your conversation, like, oh yeah, I should reach out to my bookkeeper, ask them for a profit and loss statement. Oh yeah, I should reach out to this person, follow up on that lead. That half an hour gives you time to do that. And I just feel like that's this golden time right after the meeting. That's what I would recommend.
Michelle, I love that. If I could add a couple more things that I was reflecting upon, I really resonate with the be honest aspect and be authentic, because every business person has gone through so many ebbs and flows, and we can spend time talking about a new logo, or we could spend time talking about getting your sales to where they want to be, right? What's the most impactful? And those conversations only come from showing up authentically and really trusting one another, right? And then you mentioned something else. Shoot, I've lost my train of thought here. Oh, involve the people around you as a mentee, right? I'm working with someone who has involved her staff after our conversation. So that golden time afterwards, Michelle, that you were talking about, she lets her staff know about her plan and involves them in the conversations. And it's really catapulted her success. And it's just incredible to watch, because she's been open about what her goals as a business owner are with the people around her. It's very cool. And then her staff have ideas too. So they're having more authentic conversations for the success of the business too.
Wow. What
I'd
great
add-
tips. Kaitlyn, you're going to add some.
Yeah, for like a mentee, I think one of my advices I'd give is be a sponge. Like come in to the relationship with an open mind. Like you could know everything there is to know about your industry and your business, but just being open to the fact that you might not know everything, and to be open to the advice that's being given to you. I think, and just you can get something out of any experience. So I think being open and being a sponge and coming in with an open mind, like you both said as well.
Like ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Like I find that that's one of the best things. Like if I feel like I need to be prepared for meetings, I don't need to know the answers. I just need to know like, what I'm struggling with. And that can change from meeting to meeting, or it can be an ongoing thread that I'm struggling with throughout my whole journey so far, right? Yeah, totally being a sponge, asking questions and being authentic. Agreed.
Yeah.
I feel like we're doing it for in the incredible expertise in this room today, that the audience is getting such great information about the mentoring program and being a mentee and being a mentor we're kind of a living lab here, just with such great tips. Yeah, time for reflection, involve your team, be a sponge. That's what makes the experience effective. Or as Salli said, we think about what impact will this conversation have on my business at the end of the day. Great information for someone thinking about moving forward into a mentee program, which brings us right to our next question: is what advice to give prospective mentees or mentors that are moving into a mentoring relationship? What advice? You've given some tips on how to be a mentee, but what advice would you give to someone who's just moving into that mentoring relationship?
In terms of becoming a mentor, I've got 3 top things that I was reflecting upon, and I think we talked about them briefly a little bit. But number 3, as a new mentor, to really respect and meet people where they're at. We talked about different growth phases, and to really appreciate someone's own pace, right? As some people move quickly, some people move slowly, some people are still figuring things out. And regardless of where they're at, that is okay, and to support them in that space. Number 2, let them lead, right? It's not, again, about me forcing my values, my experience on someone, but really listening and taking in where they're at, where they want to go, and having those conversations as they come up. And then number 1, you know what my tip is? Sign up. Like I say, it's been just the most rewarding experience as a mentor. I've gotten so much from this. I have to hold myself back. I don't know if she's on this call or not, but she's got to think I'm super weird. But I have to hold myself back from sending this incredibly heartfelt, sentimental email after our conversations about the value that I'm getting as well. I'm learning from her experiences. I'm super jazzed from her positivity, and I always get a ton of things done after our conversation. So it's this beautiful reciprocal type of relationship that I didn't necessarily expect beyond the networking and supportive phase. So sign up, don't delay. Support your community of women entrepreneurs, right?
And I think from a mentee perspective, this might be able to go both ways with some ideas that I have here, but I think it's like being honest with your capacity going into things. So I think being very clear about if it's a program, understanding what the roles and expectations are. Do I have the time to commit to showing up for that? And I say this because there are times where I found it really challenging. Like every day, every week, I was wishing there was more hours in a day. There was so many things going on, and oh my gosh, now I have to show up, and I didn't do my homework, or you know what I mean. But every time I showed up, I didn't get in trouble. Like nobody's grading my homework. It's not like that. And me showing up authentically got me and my mentor more out of exactly where I was at to help, right? Because that's what my struggle was, not what we were working on maybe 2 weeks ago or a month, right? So yeah, I think understanding, knowing what I was going into for the program, what the time expectations were, what the weekly kind of commitment was. Is it like university? Do I have to have 5 hours of reading every week? Like I didn't know. For the the group mentorship, there was like, we each got an opportunity for one of the weeks. It was kind of focused on us and we had to present our business. So that was good for me to know that I had to make like a slide deck and walk everybody through things. And that was the moment, that was the day that I had such an impactful shift in my business.
Tell that story, Michelle. Tell that story. Yeah.
It was really cool. It was really great. So it was my turn to present, and I was nervous about it, and I didn't really know if I was going to get much out of this, but I having to make this presentation really forced me to look at my business from the lens of the public. And I know that sounds a little weird, but I don't know if I had done that appropriately to that point. So I had to break my business down in a way that made sense to people who potentially had no idea what I do. So yeah, I got a lot of clarity on like where I was, who I was, what we offer, the services that I offer, what my pain points were, what I needed support with. And the overarching advice that the group had given me at that moment was like, I need to show up more. I was hiding behind my business because I found it safe back there. I didn't want to feel so vulnerable and exposed. But they all told me like, no, we want to see more of you. Like you're engaging, you're interesting, like you are your business, right? And I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I started doing that and everything changed. The amount of people I was connecting with, the people I was networking, the leads that were coming in, the money I started making, how my services started to roll out, like everything shifted. It was like the puzzle piece kind of sat in there properly. And I was willing to take a risk and to do something that made me uncomfortable. But if everybody in a room is telling you something, there's got to be something to it, right? But it was because I didn't know these people. They weren't my friends. They weren't just co-signing what they thought would make me feel good. They were telling me the truth, right? And so that was so impactful. I trusted what they had to say.
Amazing.
Beautiful. It's a great
That
story.
is like such a good story, because I think a lot of people who go through the mentoring program kind of feel like you do at the start, like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of it, because it is a different structure. Like you were saying, we do an action learning model for it, and so each person gets one of the weeks to present. And so some people think, well, it's not, I don't get to talk about my business the entire time, like what am I going to get out of this? But by having that opportunity, to be all about you, like you said, you had to prepare. But then also when other people get to go, you kind of get an opportunity to be a mentor and get to give your perspective, and you learn through that experience as well. So I think, like you said, Michelle, like my advice would be participate openly. And if you're going to sign up to something like this and you're going to spend the time, you might as well participate actively and you'll get more out of it. So that was great. Great story.
And I will say too, I also learned from other people's businesses and the struggles that they have. I really like engaging with people who are not in the same industry as me, because I'm not trying to do everything that's similar in my industry. So even everybody was at seemingly different stages. And so I may not have had that struggle today, but they're maybe like, 6 months ahead of me, or they do something different. And I learned from what they were explaining. So when I went through that, I already had the information. And I was able to share information with other people who hadn't walked through certain things. So just the exchange was just incredible.
Mhm. Wow. It's those impactful stories and the way of looking at them that you just described, the mentorship effect, right? And Kaitlyn, Kaitlyn and Brandy don't pull names out of a hat when they're matching. On the one-on-one program, you know that because of the great connections that you've had, but our audience doesn't know that. So Kaitlyn, what are you looking for when you're matching mentees and mentors? You're not pulling names out of a hat. What are you looking for?
It's a pretty big process. Like we get quite a lot of applications that come in for the mentoring program. Like we have way more applications than mentors available. So if you are thinking about mentoring, please apply. But we definitely look through the applications. We find out where you're at in your business, like a certain stage. And then we do interviews with you. And so that's where we really get a clear idea on, are you able to explain what your business is? Are you working on your business full time, or is it on the side of your desk? That doesn't matter too much, but if you can explain what you do and you're very clear on the challenges you're experiencing and the goals you have, and you're open to listening to us in the call, for one, and two, if you're open to getting advice and are clear on kind of the type of support you're going to need. Like some people show up and they're like, oh, I need more clients. And we're like, okay, well, elaborate. And then when they can elaborate and you actually find like, that's not actually your challenge is, something else. And we have a discussion about that. So just being open and clear and authentic, like there's no wrong answer. I think you just have to show up and be very clear. This is the support I need. This is the business I have. This is where I want to go with it. And I don't know if Brandy's still on the call and wants to jump in. Maybe she does more of the interviewing now than I do, but but yeah, I would just be very clear on your business.
That's how those magic matches get made. A master of alliteration this morning.
And then on the mentor side, just being open, like being willing to share your experience and your expertise, and also being clear on, you know, who you think you can best support, because that really helps us to determine like which mentee to match you with. But yeah, just being open and willing to commit the time and being engaged. And I think we mentioned it earlier in one of the advice parts was the mentee is really the driving force of the mentoring relationship. So when you come on as a mentor, we don't expect you to be hounding anybody. You shouldn't be emailing them, forcing them to take your advice. The mentee should really be driving that and, you know, making meetings, being accountable. And then the mentor's there to just kind of, you know, like we said, share experience, help brainstorm solutions to challenges, create action plans that you can go and implement in your business, that kind of stuff.
I love that the mentee is in charge of like driving the bus. I think that's really important in business, right? That itself is a lesson. Like, am I scheduling meetings? Does it need to be rescheduled? What's the availability? Or, you know, like, oh, I'm missing this. They forgot to send me something, follow up on that. That is business, right? So that's such a great, well thought out process.
And I think too, what's really important is that every relationship is what we each choose to make of it. So a mentee can create a ton of actions for themselves, or they can have one thing. It just depends on where they're at, but there's no one forcing anything on anyone. It's how they want to proceed, how much work and effort they want to put into it to see the results that they're looking for.
I love that, Salli. It's kind of that, it's kind of a nice summary statement of what to bring to the table, your authentic self and that commitment. And yeah, what you bring to the relationship is what you get out of it.
Yeah. And I also think one last thing, Dawn, sorry.
Yeah.
With the mentee, like I think a lot of people get a mentor and they expect that they're going to be best friends and they're going to get this warm, soft, wonderful feeling. And it's like, this person's like a part of my family. And that does happen, but sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't mean you won't get the same benefits from it. So I think recognizing that it doesn't have to be, you know, this warm, mushy thing at the beginning. It could evolve to that, but just understanding that someone is wanting to help you and support your business, taking time out of their own business to do that. So just trusting the matching process and kind of following it through a bit to see how that unfolds, because most of the time connections happen, but sometimes it doesn't happen right away. So I don't want it to be like, oh, this isn't the right mentor for me. There are times when it isn't the right mentor. And so it's good to say that. But if it's like a feeling sort of thing, just be open to it and kind of understanding that it doesn't always have to be, you know, best friends at the end.
Kaitlyn, if I may just briefly talk about, I would assume a question might come up about what is the initial process like? And for me,
how do I know if I'm ready? Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
or even just after that, what happens when y'all match up? Right?
Yeah.
For me, from my perspective, what happened is I received an email saying, would you like to match with this person? It's like dating. Right?
Yeah.
This is dating. But would you like to match with this person? We both say okay. And then we just have a brief get to know you call. Some might call it a discovery type of call. And then we figure out when would be the best time for us to meet going forward. And so Brandy usually checks in, says, how did your discovery call go or your meeting go? Do you feel comfortable moving forward? And then, as Michelle said, checks in thereafter, right? So that's how the process started for me. I'm not sure if it's different for other people, but it's a really nice, smooth process of a quick get to know you type video chat and then mentoring sessions thereafter.
Yeah. So that's what we set up pre-calls. So that's the discovery call. And so, you know, based on the information that Brandy and I are given from the application and then the interviews, we're like, okay, they'd be a good fit. But then we're like, maybe we're missing something. So that's where the pre-call is really great, because you get a chance to, you know, find out more about each other, the challenges they're experiencing, if the mentor actually feels that they can support them. And then sometimes they're like, you know, I just don't think it's a good fit. And that's fine. And that's why we like the pre-call, because we don't like it when you go you know, 3 months and then you're like, oh, it actually didn't work out. We haven't talked at all. Like that's, we don't want that. We want people to get something out of the program for sure. So the pre-call helps us with that.
And what you have all described is really that support is there. It's
Mhm.
not here, here's two people, put you together, hope it works.
Yeah.
Brandy and Kaitlyn, that is what they're doing. They're working to make sure that your questions are answered, that things are moving along the way you would expect them to be, and that's what they're doing. They're providing that support within the WeBC mentoring program. You're part of the program, and that support is there, whether you're a mentor or a mentee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how does
Brandy
someone
and
know?
I just love, Brandy and I just love open communication. That's all we ask.
Yes.
Is if things, because sometimes if everyone wants to talk about when everything's great, but sometimes there's things that happen and they're, the mentee or the mentor wouldn't maybe know how to navigate that. And so if you bring Brandy and I in, we can help. We can be like a third party person, come in, kind of check in with the mentee or the mentor. And then usually something's going on that they weren't comfortable talking to each other about, but it has nothing to do with the mentoring match. And we can kind of sort it out that way. So just, open communication.
Mm-hmm. I can say this from outside of the mentoring program is WeBC takes, if you're thinking about becoming a mentor, WeBC takes very good care of their mentors. I know that I can say that, having worked in the past with so many of the mentors, and WeBC takes really good care of the mentors and the mentees. But the support is there. We want to underline that. So how does someone know if they're ready for a formal mentoring program? WeBCs or just generally speaking, how do I know if I'm ready to jump in? You've given some good tips. You've talked about time for sure, and bringing your authentic self to the table. And how do I know I'm ready?
I think it's almost like a two-part thing. It's like do I have a need? Like, do I, for me, it was like I felt alone, I felt overwhelmed, like, so that need is there. And then the second piece was like you'd mentioned, do I have the capacity to prioritize that right now? And for me, it was like, heck yeah, like, how do I get in? I need some help. So yeah, it's almost like a two-part thing in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say, like, for our mentoring programs, you definitely have to be actively operating your business. So you definitely have to be in that phase. It's not the pre-startup phase. You have clients, you're making income, or hopefully you're in a position to make income. And you are maybe stuck in, like I said before, your own thought process, and you're struggling and you just don't know how to get past this hurdle. I think it would be a great time for you to kind of reach out and ask for help. A lot of the times in entrepreneurship, like, you don't know what you don't know. So it's like, you're kind of like struggling along and you're like, why do I always feel like I'm drowning? Like, maybe that is an opportunity for you to kind of step out of that and ask for some support. And that's where the mentoring program can come in and help.
Kaitlyn, that's my favorite line. You don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
For me, I'd say just a few words if you're feeling overwhelmed, stuck, alone, or curious, right? Curious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll add another one. I like how you said stuck, because it's like, yeah, am I ready to elevate? Like, am I ready to kind of take the next step here, right? So it's not for people who are just necessarily starting out in our businesses. It's like, have I been here for a while? Or is something not working? Or I've been doing this for a while, what else is out there? Or maybe like, I've been doing it the same way for so long, what don't I know? Like, that's such a great way to walk into things. I love that. Curious.
Yeah.
Get curious.
Mm-hmm.
And to all of you, get curious. What are your questions? We have about 10 extra minutes to answer questions that you may have. So 2 ways you can do that. You can put them in chat. Type your question into chat. You can direct it to one or all of the panelists. Or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you. Yeah, if Serena says, if you don't match according to industry, do you make matches with mentors?
Yeah. So sometimes we match by industry. Definitely, if we have 2 people and they're in the same, and they have experience in the same industry, that's always helpful. But it's not like a criteria, I would say, in the matching process. We definitely look at what strengths does the mentor have? And then we match that with a mentor or a mentee who's having those as their challenges. And that seems to be quite successful.
Okay.
I'd love to underscore that a little bit too. Because I think oftentimes people think they need to find somebody within their industry, I see it actually as like a competitive advantage to work with people outside of your industry because you want to stand out, right? So what are other people doing? So like morals, values, or maybe kind of like career trajectory experience would be very important, but don't shy away from working with people who are from a different industry than you are. Actually encourage it.
Yeah.
There's a couple of questions related to, is it online or in person? And what if the community-based mentorship is not in your community? Can you still go on a wait list?
Yeah. So for the one-to-one, it's usually online just because it's hard to get mentors and mentees in the same community. But sometimes when they can meet for coffee, but for the most part, it is virtual. The Mentoring 2.0 program that's starting in February, that's virtual because we service all of BC. The community-based mentorships, like this is a pilot project. So the communities that you see on our website are the communities that we're doing the groups in. So I would probably say for that, if you're not in that community and you're at the stage, to probably sign up for the Mentoring 2.0. I'm just going to answer the question that was at the top because it said, where do I get information if I'm in the pre-startup? And
there were
so,
two of those.
Yeah, we do have like a client service team. So you could reach out to the client service team at hello@webc.ca and ask them, the challenges that you're having. And then we have business advisors. So the client service person will kind of ask you a few discovery questions, figure out what your needs are, and then they would potentially put you in contact with a business advisor. And then they can support you to kind of get you to the point where you're like operating your business.
Okay, and the link for Hello WeBC is in the chat as well. Thank you.
And then Darian, your hand's up.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you so much for this chat. There was a little bit of alluding to maybe mentor relationships that have gone sour. I'm kind of hesitant to look for a new mentor because my last one, I feel kind of like worst case scenario, took my ideas and is now offering those services herself. So I'm really like quite, really hurt by that and quite heartbroken. So I was wondering if you have any advice to like seek a new kind of mentor or like how to overcome feelings of competitiveness or fear that, what I'm bringing to this relationship might be taken.
Yeah. I'm sorry. That's a hard thing to go through. Go for it, Salli.
Yeah, I was just gonna, that's horrible. I'm so sorry. And this might be one of those fabulous situations where you could align with someone who's not in your industry. So if that's a fear of yours, just let Kaitlyn and Brandy know, and they can set you up with someone who can alleviate that. So it's not even a remote possibility, so that you can come in as comfortable as possible, right?
We also, in our mentoring program, like we do, well, especially for the peer groups, we work at it be non-competing. So, and same with the mentors, the idea that it would be non-competing so that you wouldn't necessarily be running the same business, so be in competition with each other is something we work to do. And then we also suggest that the matches sign a code of conduct. So when you do go into another matching situation, like maybe do a code of conduct where you say like, these are the expectations of us in this, and just be very clear, like, obviously things need to be confidential. I would expect the things that I'm sharing with you, you're not going to take them and use them for yourself. Like, putting that stuff in writing and getting each of you to sign it can be helpful.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would underscore everything that was just said, Darian. My heart does go out to you. I can imagine that would be a fear for a lot of people, and especially if it has happened once. So I think you're justified in how you feel. I wanted to say that. And trust is a hard thing. And without risk, we can't build trust. And unfortunately, it sounds like you got burned. And again, my heart goes out to you. But Yeah, I think that, next time working with somebody or asking them questions too, right? And saying, these are my fears, these are my concerns, talking about the roles, responsibilities, code of conduct. You could also consider, if they'd be open to signing an NDA of yours. That might be something that I would probably pose with good reason. So,
A non-disclosure agreement.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And the nice thing about our mentoring program, like the one-to-one program, is there's structure to it, but you do have the opportunity to make it your own. So if everybody agrees to sign a non-disclosure agreement and it's between the two of you, that's completely fine. Yeah.
I've got an unrelated question, but it's an important one. Do you help with getting startup funds? WeBC helps with getting startup funds. Where's the first place to go, Kaitlyn?
To a business loan information session. So we have them weekly now, and they're free, and they're like a 45 to 1 hour conversation that's facilitated by the business advisor. And then she goes through sort of our lending program, and then also lets you know some of the other lending programs that are out there, or different financing options, depending on what stage you're at. So the first step is to sign up for, we call it BLISS. So be business loan information session. And Jen just put the link in the chat there. Yeah. Dana's got her hand up. Is that right, Dana?
Okay.
Yeah,
Jump
that's
right in.
right. Well, first of all, thank you very much, ladies. It's been so really great to hear your stories as well. And the same, right? Because as we are starting, it's really, really hard and it's extremely overwhelming. I just quit my job so I can actually focus full time on my business. And saying that, like, I tried to apply for mentorships before, but I never got a response. So I don't know if through this email I can get a better, like a faster answer. How can I get a mentor?
So as I said, it was through us. Generally, you should get some correspondence from us saying either you're like on the next phase to get matched, or we didn't have someone for you. Generally, I would say if you didn't get that, you'd probably check your junk folder, perhaps.
Yeah.
And so we do get a lot of applications. So we get, we'll have 20 spots for a one-to-one program, and we'll get 150 applications. So it's really hard to have one-on-one correspondence with them all. So I do apologize if you didn't get our email relating. We also hold on to emails sometimes too, like applications, so that when another intake opens, then we reach out. So if you want it, you can send me an email, Dana, if it's just Kaitlyn I'll put it in the chat, and you can reach out that way.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Yes,
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you. I did got an email, but it was just pretty much like, hey, we haven't found anybody, we'll match it. But that was like months ago, and I've been waiting. And another question for you girls is, do you have any groups where we can, I don't know, like between girls? Because I think another way to learn is between each other. So I don't know if there is another group that you have where we can talk to other entrepreneur women that we just chat about our business and how are we going.
Maybe I'm just considering our time frame. I want to respect everybody's time, and I want to answer your questions. So I'm thinking that hello at WeBC would be a good place to start, and maybe take a look at the website and other resources. Does that sound okay? Double check with the client team, and they will be able to answer that question. I want to come back to sharing the screen. We don't have time to answer more questions, but hello at WeBC is a great place to start. I want to just make sure that we thank our panelists. That's the most important thing right now. Kaitlyn, Michelle, and Salli, just so much information. If your question wasn't answered, there is an answer out there for you. WeBC is a great place to start to get those answers. We want to know what you want. We've got some upcoming programs. On-demand learning. These are courses that you can take. They're free of charge. So human resources for small business, financial fitness, strategic marketing, and more to come. So lots of ways of learning and connecting There's an upcoming, again, a free We Cafe financial survival for entrepreneurs coming up in January. So lots on the go. Sign up for the e-news. You can register for events, subscribe at webc.ca, stay in the loop. That's the way to stay connected. I want to thank everyone for your time today, especially our panelists who have shared their stories, their tips and advice, which some of the best I've heard on how to know if you're ready and how to come into a mentorship relationship. Some great tips there. Fireside Chat. I hope it's not cold when you leave the waiting room. Please tell us how we did. It'll take only less than a minute to respond to the poll. Please answer the poll as it comes up. It takes less than a minute. We need your feedback. Thank you for joining us. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
so much. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, I have that. Jen, can you launch the poll again, maybe? It went away really quick for maybe too late. We can maybe, yeah.
Yep. There's the poll if you haven't had a chance to do it. Thank you. Thanks, Jen.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Jen, I think you can stop the recording.